Chapter 425 almost wiped out. The sky had turned dark. The starry night rose above the open-air dueling ground. The swift star wolf was worthy of his name, as the power of the stars granted him strong recovery capabilities. The wolf, which was well known for its endurance and stamina, fought even more fiercely after its special runes began absorbing the power of the stars. The swift star wolf would have a hard time fighting against many challengers at once, but in one-on-one battles, those ranked below 100 had no chance of defeating him. As the swift star wolf continued to stack up his stat sheets, Mo Fan took advantage of this time to recover his energy. He did not cast any intermediate spells, as his energy was only sufficient to cast a few of them. However, that wasn't the case with his basic spells. Those who were ranked slightly higher were often relatively experienced in battles. They were able to kite the swift star wolf around, or even inflict some damage to him. When Mo Fan joined the battle with his extraordinary lightning field, and a fire burst with half the power of an intermediate spell, his opponents who were ranked beyond 100 had a hard time against them. Initially, when it was only going up against Mo Fan, the students had already found it troublesome. Now, with the summoned beast and its summoner teaming up, the situation was a lot worse. Mo Fan clearly knew he would be fighting for a prolonged time, or maybe he was just too experienced at bullying people. He knew how to preserve his energy so he could still face the rest of the challengers. The numbers continued to stack up. As a matter of fact, only some of the duels could be considered a fair and just battle. Those beyond the 400th rank basically gave up straight away. Those ranked close to 200 were like practice dummies. Their only hope was on the students with 2 soul seeds that were ranked higher than 140, who might be able to end the battle when both the Demon King and his summoned beast were tired. This Mo Fan is an absolute headache. The dean has already told him to keep a low profile. Instead of avoiding troubles, he simply challenged the entire fire school. Is this what he thinks keeping a low profile means? Mr. Ji Yu Han had arrived, rubbing his temples. He's not at the main campus. Why can't he, a new student, be more modest? Despite his grumbling, when Mr. Ji Yu Han saw Mo Fan standing on the stage, his eyes were filled with relief. This kid. It's good that you're alive. As long as he was still stirring up trouble in the school, that's all he could ask for. Wei Rong could no longer stand watching the duels. If anyone were currently suffering the most mentally, it was definitely this elemental director. He was deeply regretful at this time. What was he thinking, trying to show this kid a bad time right away, just because Dean Xiao had handled the transferal application himself? He ended up giving himself a great headache. How was his fire school going to retain their reputation in front of the other elements? Next, ranked 101st, Zhao Ji, Wei Rong yelled out with a tired voice. Wei Rong had been teaching at the campus for many years, yet it was his first time feeling so dreadful when reading out the challenger's name. It was like his heart had been sucked dry. He had forced many arrogant students to submit to his will, yet he had completely lost his temper against this particular transfer student. As the 101st ranked Zhao Ji walked up to the stage, the eyes of the spectators immediately glinted, especially those from the fire school, like a flicker of hope in the midst of despair. It's Zhao Ji, he's surely the strongest among all the challengers. Those who were ranked in the top 100 were not allowed to challenge someone with a lower rank, thus most of them were clenching their teeth, as Mo Fan had stolen all their attention. I've already known that those ranked below 100 are a bunch of idiots. Today, this transfer student has finally proven my point. If I, Kun La, were to challenge him, I could easily defeat him and his pet, a student ranked in the top 100 said disdainfully. That's right, the experts in the top 100 were not allowed to challenge him. How infuriating, to see a transfer student doing whatever he wants. To be honest, you so-called experts are all hypocrites. None of you treated him seriously at the beginning, and now you're boasting, countered a female student with a rather straightforward character. Mo Fan had infuriated the entire fire school without a doubt, yet the students from the other elements were impressed by his courage and capabilities, unlike those who always pretended how talented they were. Those false-faced people were looking down at him, yet their restlessness had already betrayed their intents. Rank 100 is like the dividing point. If Mr. Wei Rong placed him at the 50th rank, this mess would be over by now. Now, we can't do anything but bear the humiliation together with those low-ranked idiots. Double innate elements? I don't think it's really that impressive. It's not like he's the only person with an innate talent. What do you say, Dongfang Ming? Said a girl with a bowl cut. Dongfang Ming's lips twisted, but he said nothing. The girl obviously had no idea, and added, Dongfang Ming, why are you so quiet? Dongfang Ming rolled his eyes. He was not in the mood to talk. Initially, he had a great chance of joining the enforcement union after graduating from the school. He was already a probationary judge, yet he somehow stumbled into Mo Fan, who destroyed the path that his family had laid down for him. Dongfang Ming clearly remembered that during his battle against Mo Fan, the latter did not even use his summoned beast. He also had a shadow element equipment, which he had not used so far in the duels. This Mo Fan had only used his blood tabi right at the beginning. God knows what luxurious equipment he still had. One who was rich enough to level up his basic spells to the 4th tier could not possibly only have a pair of boots. His summoned beast is completely exhausted. This Zhao Ji has a high chance of winning the duel. He must be the strongest among all the challengers, said someone in the crowd. Zhao Ji did find himself with a huge advantage. The swift star wolf was obviously not as fast as before, and his attacks were weaker. The swift star wolf was also covered in wounds. Since it was the fire school, every challenger had the fire element, and some of their flames had prolonged burning effects. As the wounds stacked up, it was severe enough to influence his movement. Mo Fan sent the swift star wolf back to his home dimension, concerned about the wolf's recovery. When Mo Fan withdrew the beast, the elemental directors were startled. Don't tell me that he still has a contracted beast. Wei Rong was left speechless. Contract summoning was the intermediate spell of the summoning element. Normally, a contract summoning would be a few times stronger than a beast summoned through the dimensional summoning. If Mo Fan had also achieved the intermediate level with his summoning element and summoned a contract beast that was stronger than the swift star wolf, his fire school was about to be wiped out. Chapter 426 Fight Back. The teachers opened their eyes wide. Bai Mei said, he has 3 elements to cultivate. His fire and lightning elements are quite impressive. If his summoning element has also achieved the intermediate level, isn't his cultivation rate a bit too terrifying? The teachers let out relieved sighs when they discovered that Mo Fan was not casting the intermediate summoning spell. They were almost scared to death by this guy. It was a relief that he did not have a contracted beast. As a matter of fact, Mo Fan's summoning element had already reached the intermediate level. He could also cast the spell adeptly. The problem was, he did not have enough money to buy a suitable contracted beast. Among the contracted beasts he had seen, those that could match the swift star wolf's strength after they matured were 40 million RMB or above. It was rather meaningless to buy a contracted beast that was weaker than the swift star wolf. Zhao Ji was soaked in cold sweat on the dueling ground. When he discovered that Mo Fan did not have a contracted beast, he could not help but chuckle. Everyone already knew about the duels, and if he ended up defeating the Demon King, it would be a great boost to his reputation. His clan would take him seriously from now on. Zhao Ji knew that Mo Fan was running out of energy. He did not give him any chance to catch his breath. The intermediate fire spell was already burning on his right fist. Meanwhile, his figure was surrounded by glowing shields. The golden glow formed a full circle of protection around him, shielding him inside perfectly. Despite the power of Mo Fan's basic spells, he was unable to blast Zhao Ji's light element shields away. Zhao Ji was using a spirit-grade light element soul seed, granting him a sturdier defense. Mo Fan hated fighting against magicians with fire and earth elements. Similarly, Mo Fan was not a fan of the light element either, as it perfectly countered his shadow element. Qinjun. Thunderbolt. Yaksha. Mo Fan cast an intermediate spell without hesitation. His finger swiped across the night sky, summoning a purple-black storm cloud above Zhao Ji. Following the flicker on his fingertip, a wide thunderbolt plummeted toward the ground. In the midst of striking down, it forked into several lightning arcs, like a black claw tearing the air apart. The place began to tremble before the formidable power. The power of Thunderbolt, Yaksha, was fairly shocking. It was pretty much Mo Fan's strongest attack besides the fiery fist, 9 halls. However, it felt like the cunning Zhao Ji was baiting Mo Fan to cast an intermediate spell. When he saw the thunderbolt, he quickly extinguished the fire on his right fist and cast a light element spell. Light protection, rampart. Several golden rays intertwined above Zhao Ji, forming a floating golden wall. The thunderbolt struck the glowing wall. However, it felt like its power was being absorbed. The destructive spell was quickly nullified without causing much destruction. The purple-black lightning arcs broke down rapidly on the light protection rampart, soon disappearing from the surface of the wall. Trying to defeat me in one blow? How much energy do you have left to fight against me? Zhao Ji asked with a sinister grin. Mo Fan was not bothered by Zhao Ji's provocation. He stood on the spot, like a lamp that was running out of fuel. It's time for you to pay the price. Zhao Ji's right fist was engulfed in flames once again. The flames that were spreading in all directions quickly gathered on his wrist, a strong energy bursting out from it. Fiery fist. Groundbreak. Zhao Ji also had a spirit-grade flame. The power of his fiery fist, Groundbreak, was comparable to Li Yuji's. The blazing red flames lit up the entire stage. Mo Fan was forced to use his departing nether shield. He quickly backed off, trying to avoid the region with the strongest power. The departing nether shield had blocked most of the power, but the scorching flames managed to penetrate it, burning Mo Fan's favorite shirt into ashes and revealing his scorched chest. The flames covered Mo Fan's figure. If it weren't for his fire resistance, his body would most likely be beyond recognition after the burning. The departing nether shield had blocked the tremendous force that could burn him into ashes, yet the lingering burning effect still applied. Mo Fan was injured. He clenched his teeth in pain as he was burned. A few parts of his body were obviously scorched. Zhao Ji wore a smile when he saw the damage he had inflicted on his opponent. His victory was just around the corner. His light protection rampart had already disappeared. Basically, he only needed to throw his fist at Mo Fan to end the battle. The scorching flames continued to burn on the stage. Mo Fan stood in the midst of the fire, holding his departing nether shield. The light of the fire revealed a strange grin on his face. Suddenly, a long spike thrust forward from the departing nether shield. It was the counterattack of the departing nether shield, the departing nether spike. It penetrated the scorching flames and appeared in front of Zhao Ji within the blink of an eye. The departing nether spike was like a cold sword piercing through the night sky. It swept across the burning zone of fire. Zhao Ji had no idea it existed until the icy spike that could penetrate everything was already coming toward him. Rock barrier. Wei Rong reacted fairly quickly and cast an earth spell. No one had seen him drawing the stars. A rock barrier suddenly emerged in front of Zhao Ji. The departing nether spike penetrated the rock barrier. Its tip was inches away from Zhao Ji's face. Zhao Ji broke out in cold sweat, his body froze in place. He stared at the rock barrier in front of him in disbelief, before glancing at the departing nether spike that had almost taken his life. Zhao Ji, you're already dead if you're fighting against a demon beast. You've lost the fight, Wei Rong harumphed coldly. Zhao Ji totally lost his mind. He never thought Mo Fan, who had already used up all his energy, would lunge back at him like a poisonous scorpion's last struggle. He had lost the important duel just because he had lowered his guard too early. He raised his head, and saw the burns on Mo Fan's body. He gathered his remaining dignity after suffering the loss, and sneered, injuring you is more than enough. Chapter 427. Scared of the transfer student. The students of the fire school were desperate. They never thought the strongest student among the challengers, Zhao Ji, would lose, too. Zhao Ji was too careless. It was already a win for him, yet he somehow lost the battle due to a counterattack. That being said, the shield equipment was rather unique, to be able to counterattack. No one could have predicted it. Most importantly, the Demon King was indeed injured by Zhao Ji's fiery fist, and was on the verge of losing the duel. Who knew that the shield equipment would cost him the victory? This departing nether shield isn't very sturdy, but the counterattack isn't bad. At least it was worth my money, Mo Fan mumbled to himself as he put the departing nether shield away. He was going to burst into laughter, but the pain from the burns on his body stopped him from doing that. Luckily, his injuries were not too severe. Otherwise, he would be unable to focus enough to align the stars, and lose the ability to fight. Zhao Ji walked down from the stage. He was still glaring at Mo Fan viciously behind him. He almost walked into a bulky man whose hair was dyed golden. The man had a fair skin tone and a tall nose. His facial features were rather outstanding, similar to a Westerner, yet he still retained the looks of an Easterner, unlike Zhao Ji, whose face and skin were covered in strange black marks. So you're here, too. I was so close to winning some reputation for our Zhao clan. However, I bet he's having a hard time from the flames. They are going to scorch his skin black if he doesn't treat them now. Zhao Ji said to the man with golden hair. The man was half a head taller than Zhao Ji. He was staring down at Zhao Ji coldly. Suddenly, the golden-haired man raised his hand and slapped Zhao Ji hard across the face. The slap was remarkably loud, immediately attracting the attention of the crowd, who was discussing how they could possibly beat the Demon King. Who's that guy? Yeah, he dared to hit the 101 ranked Zhao Ji. What's going on? What just happened? I didn't see it. Did you say Zhao Ji was hit? The crowd burst into an uproar. They clearly saw Zhao Ji taking a few steps backward after being hit. A tooth covered in blood had dropped to the ground, too. How hard did that man slap him? Blood started leaking from Zhao Ji's mouth. His gaze was filled with anger, yet he did not dare to show it on his face, which was full of disbelief. It's only a duel that I've lost. Zhao Ji protested, withholding his anger. Those who were familiar with Zhao Ji found it unbelievable. Zhao Ji was the vengeful sort, so it made no sense that he did not fight back after being slapped in the face in front of the crowd. Didn't he feel ashamed? Piss off from my sight, before I turn you into a cripple, the golden-haired man glared at Zhao Ji. Zhao Ji's status was clearly a lot lower than that person. Despite being humiliated, he did not dare to say a word more. He glanced at the tooth in front of his foot before leaving furiously. Fellow student, it's unwise to use violence in the school, Bai Mei said to the golden-haired man in an advising tone. Sir, I was attending a family matter. I'm sorry for the inconvenience caused, the golden-haired man smiled, a completely different appearance from his previous icy look. Wei Rong was aware of it, too. He was not happy when his student was struck, but when he saw Zhao Ji not daring to fight back, he immediately speculated that this golden-haired man had a formidable background, and decided not to intervene in their business. Most people were clueless about what had just happened. Meanwhile, on the stage, Mo Fan, whose upper body was completely exposed, uttered a laugh. It's been half a year, yet your temper is still the same? Mo Fan seemed to be extremely close with the golden-haired man. He greeted him from the stage. You are the same, too. If I hadn't come to check out the huge challenges out of boredom, I wouldn't even know you'd come back to school, the golden-haired man responded with a laugh too, like old friends meeting one another. It was just a challenge, said Mo Fan. I don't care. All I care is that whoever hurts Zhao Manting's friend, I will show no mercy, regardless of who they are. Besides, he's just a dog raised by my clan, declared Zhao Manting. Nice hair. I thought the next time I saw you, you would be lying inside a coffin. Impressive, you're participating in school activities so energetically, Zhao Manting grinned with gleaming eyes. The last time he saw Mo Fan, he had long hair reaching the ground, and his body was shrouded by a demonic aura because of the experiment that Lu Nian and his crew were obsessed with. He thought he would never see this guy again, after he turned into a demon to save their lives. To his surprise, Mo Fan was currently standing alive in front of him. Just like how he had taken all the resources from the new students back in the day, he was now challenging more than 200 students from the fire school in a row. After confirming that Mo Fan was still alive, the burden in his heart was lifted. As for that scum Zhao Ji who had injured his best brother, there was time to deal with him later. Mo Fan had saved his life, so he was considered Zhao clan's benefactor. The Zhao clan had given Zhao Ji his cultivation and his soul seeds, so slapping a tooth out from his mouth was barely even a punishment. Zhao Manting did not want to disturb Mo Fan's fun task of challenging the entire fire school. He quickly found a spot and sat down with a girl who was wearing revealing clothing. Mo Fan was speechless when he saw that Zhao Manting had another new girlfriend. Next, ranked 467th. Wei Rong read out the challenger's name. However, after Zhao Ji's defeat, the challengers no longer posed any threat to Mo Fan. Those ranked after 400 were easily defeated. The number of challengers had exceeded 200, and the duels had lasted until late in the night. Normally, the students would be resting or meditating in their rooms, but the place was still fully crowded. None of the challengers seemed to pose any threat to Mo Fan, even though he no longer had the energy to cast intermediate spells. They still could not handle his basic spells, despite his injuries. However, the crowd discovered something that gave them hope. At long last, Mo Fan seemed to be extremely worn out. As a matter of fact, Mo Fan had almost lost his ability to fight after the battle against Zhao Ji. He only managed to win because of the departing Nether Spike's counterattack. We've finally depleted his energy. All we need is someone ranked in the top 200. Not even, as long as they aren't those idiots ranked after 600, we can basically finish him off. I don't understand why you are so excited. He defeated more than 200 people from your school, said a student from a different element. Anything is better than getting wiped out completely. Otherwise, the fire school would surely become a laughingstock. Everyone was intimidated by Mo-Fan's capabilities. They were starting to feel scared of the transfer student. Most importantly, if this guy actually survived all the challenges, their fire school would never be able to raise their heads in front of the other elements. Chapter 428 Incompliant. Last challenger, ranked 173rd, Zhou Tong, shouted Wei Rong after gathering his resolve. Without anyone noticing, there was only a single challenger remaining. Even Wei Rong was slightly terrified of this transfer student now. Although the challengers took turns fighting him instead of battling against him at the same time, the number of people who he had defeated was enough to stack up into a wall. When the students of the fire school learned that the last challenger was ranked higher than 200, it felt like a glimpse of hope to them. Even if Mo-Fan managed to cast a spell in the end, there was no way he would win the battle against an expert ranked in the top 200. It turned out that the heavens were still treating them fairly. This Zhou Tong is in luck. I should have put my name down, too. Maybe I would have been the last challenger instead. There's nothing to be happy about. The transfer student had defeated more than 200 students from our fire school. I wouldn't dare to say I'm from the fire school anymore. It's still better than all of us getting wiped out. True, that, the 173rd ranked Zhou Tong was everyone's last hope. Zhou Tong was a shorty, with an underbite. His appearance was fairly atrocious, yet his tiny eyes had a slightly arrogant look to them. He glanced at Mo-Fan and chuckled like a rat before he said to Mo-Fan, I thought I was going to miss the chance to achieve the 100th rank since I registered way too late. What a surprise, you managed to last until now. Zhou Tong seemed to be talking with Mo-Fan in an indifferent manner. The truth was, his deceitful eyes were occasionally looking at someone else. That person was Lu Qian. As a matter of fact, the two were merely associates with one another, yet when Lu Qian found out that Zhou Tong's turn was at the very end, he had asked the last challenger to do him a favor. Lu Qian wanted Mo-Fan to be severely injured, serious enough for him to tie him to a bed for a few months. If he succeeded, Lu Qian the money bag would reward him greatly. Lu Qian was definitely brooding about the transfer student. In Zhou Tong's opinion, he only needed to do a fairly simple task for a great reward, since the transfer student was so worn out on the surface that he most likely could not even cast another spell. Mo-Fan stood there with a slightly pale face. The battles had been going on for too long. His energy was finally depleted. Besides that, his injuries were getting worse. It was fairly impressive that he had managed to hold on until now. Mr. Wei Rong, please go ahead with the countdown. Don't give him too much time to rest, urged Zhou Tong, as if he could not wait to claim his victory. Wei Rong nodded and announced the beginning of the battle. As soon as he finished the announcement, a voice suddenly interrupted, with words directed at Wei Rong. That's enough for today. The crowd was unaware that Dean Xiao had also arrived at the dueling ground, who spoke out in time to stop the duel. Dean Xiao, Dean. Some of the teachers politely offered their seats. Meanwhile, even though the fire school was not under Dean Xiao's control, he was still the institute's dean, thus it was reasonable to respect him. Mo-Fan, you're coming down, too. There's no need to make this into the fish dies or the net splits situation. It won't bring any good to your development here at the fire school, Dean Xiao said to Mo-Fan. You're right, Mo-Fan nodded. Apologize to Mr. Wei Rong, and to your senior brothers and sisters in the fire school. After all, you're a freshman here. Dean Xiao was obviously here to take control of the situation. Fine, Mo-Fan was not bullheaded. Since Dean Xiao had made his point clear, it was indeed unwise to continue on with the duel. Mo-Fan faced Wei Rong and apologized with his head lowered, before obeying Dean Xiao's order by apologizing to the students of the fire school. The Demon King seemed fairly sincere, yet the apology was neither painful nor itching for him. The students of the fire school were dumbfounded. Wasn't he supposed to apologize to them one at a time? Did Dean Xiao seriously clear the guy's offense by asking him to make such a simple apology? Dean Xiao, if we don't let him apologize to them one by one, how is the fire school going to retain its reputation in the Pearl Institute? Said Wei Rong softly. Oh Wei Rong, If the duel were to take place, this Zhou Tong won't stand a chance against Mo Fan, whispered Dean Xiao to Wei Rong. Mr. Ji Yu Han nodded. As a matter of fact, he already tried to give Wei Rong a hint. He no longer has the energy to fight. How could Zhou Tong possibly lose the duel? Said Wei Rong with his brows raised and a slight hint of anger. Dean Xiao did not want too many people to know about Mo Fan's true talent. After all, some things were better to be left secret as they started preparing for the World College Tournament. Exposing too much would not bring any advantage to them. As such, he whispered a few words into Wei Rong's ears. Wei Rong was not an idiot, too. Even though Dean Xiao had vaguely touched upon it, he immediately broke out in cold sweat. Wei Rong soon understood why Dean Xiao had come in person to take control of the situation. He was actually helping them to preserve the fire school's reputation. It went without saying that Dean Xiao knew Mo Fan was a maniac who had 4 elements. If the duel were to continue on, the stubborn Mo Fan would surely use his shadow element. There was no way Zhou Tong would have any chance against him. Considering that Mo Fan was going to represent their school in the World College Tournament, Dean Xiao had no intention of exposing Mo Fan's 4th element, since the World College Tournament was extremely important to their nation. If that's the case, the challenges for today have officially come to an end. Wei Rong did not dare to ask any further. The few sentences that Dean Xiao had uttered already revealed enough information to him. Wei Rong did not dare to put the reputation of his fire school at stake. Since Mo Fan had already apologized to him and the students, everyone was given a way out. We can't let it end like this. Let Zhou Tong fight him. Yeah, it's either the majority in the fire school are trash just like he said, or he apologizes to every single one of us. The students of the fire school were unsatisfied. They demanded that Mo Fan apologize singly, as the humiliation they had suffered today was great. Otherwise, how could they possibly retain their face? Wasn't he acting smug just then? Yes, he might be strong, and many of us admit that we are no match against him. Yet, that doesn't mean we'll let him trample our dignity and leave it just like that, said one of the losers. Mo Fan was initially the public enemy, and it was obvious that he was completely worn out and was obviously going to lose the duel. Most people had no intention of letting him go. Hey, those who are from the fire school, enough with your shamelessness. I would feel too ashamed to even show my temper after over 200 students from my school were defeated in a row. Are you seriously asking him to apologize to every one of you still? Don't you feel embarrassed? Scolded I-Tutu from within the crowd, who had come here early to watch the duels. That's right, maybe he's kind enough to forfeit the duel as he doesn't want to put the fire school in a worse spot, and you guys are still dropping stones on the man who has fallen into a well. Didn't you hear that Dean Xiao and your elemental director have agreed to call it off? Meanwhile, you peeps who are jealous of the glory he has earned today are trying to protect your hilarious loss of dignity. Many of the students from the other elements were standing on Mo Fan's side. The people of the fire school had always been proud and arrogant, not showing any respect to the other elements. It gladdened their hearts to see the transfer student teaching the fire school a lesson. The students of the fire school were even more infuriated after hearing those comments. They were even more determined not to let Mo Fan go so easily. His apology to the whole school was nowhere enough. Many people were waiting for the scornful guy to lower his head and apologize to them one by one.